Crashouts. We've covered many on this channel, but today I have a man who crashed out so hard that he brought about the apocalypse. This man single-handedly wiped out the pantheon of Olympus, the same gods that defeated Kratos and sealed all of the Titans when they were teenagers. That's right, today I present to you Kratos and how his crash out ended the world. Now you see, this isn't some random crash out. Oh no, this one was a long time coming. You see, Kratos killed Ares and became the god of war. But right when he's on top of the world, Zeus betrays him and kills him. Now, you think this would be the end of the story, but listen here. Kratos climbs out of hell just to get his run back with Zeus. So after whooping Zeus, right before he's about to kill him, Athena jumps in and gets killed. But this was not nearly enough to make this man stop his rampage. Why? Because it turns out that Zeus, the man that was trying to kill him, was Kratos' father. So instead of mourning over Athena, Kratos goes back in time, grabs the Titans and the blade of Olympus, and rides Gaia and them big titties straight up Mount Olympus for his get back. And the first god he puts on the t-shirt is Poseidon. Now, before we just act like that's normal, this is Poseidon, one of the top dogs of Olympus. You see, this man controls the entire oceans. Storms, tidal waves, that's him. If he told the sea to bounce and break its back, it's gonna do it. And when Kratos pulls up, the first thing Poseidon does is get active. That man jumps straight off Mount Olympus, one-shots a Titan by diving through its chest just to get into the ocean. Then as soon as he gets into the water, Poseidon starts snatching Titans off the side of the mountain with these freaky water horse crabs. These things was giving Gaia the blues. Had my girl out here winded. But when Kratos finally sees Poseidon, he's transformed into a giant water monster. And Kratos is basically down there telling him to fight like a man. But while Poseidon was looking big and bad, he severely underestimated Kratos, because as soon as Kratos frees Gaia, she gets one good punch on Poseidon's water monster, and Kratos uses the force of the punch to rip Poseidon out and tosses King Neptune and them sea salted dreads into a wall. And oh boy, I see why Poseidon needed that monster, because Kratos comes in there and starts whooping that boy, turning him every way but loose. Listen, this is a video game, and they couldn't show how bad Kratos did that man. We had to watch everything through Poseidon's POV. Well, we were, until Kratos gouged out the man's eyes, snapped his neck, and dropped the god of the sea under the sea.
Fatality.
As well as the whole world, because as soon as Poseidon died, the world went right under the water with him. And that's when it clicks that he's about to crash out so hard that the world is literally about to end. But to be honest, we have to add all the bodies that drop with these tidal waves and floods to Kratos' body count. Now, after he drops Poseidon, Kratos is feeling himself, because that man gets up there to Zeus with murder on his mind. I mean, just listen to him.
The hands of death could not defeat me. The sisters of fate could not hold me. And you will not see the end of this day. I will have my revenge. Let's go!
But unfortunately for Kratos, he ran up on the wrong one a little too early. So you know what that means, right? Zeus nukes Gaia and Kratos off Mount Olympus with a lightning spear. Bruh, just look at what he did to Gaia's arm. So in the middle of Gaia trying to hold on for dear life after getting her arm blasted off, she calls Kratos a pawn and lets that man drop to literal hell. Go ahead and just add her to his hit list. But that also leads us to the next god on Kratos' rampage, Hades. Now listen, Hades is the god of the underworld, and there's a lot of tension between him and Kratos. Honestly, for a lot of reasons. One, Kratos has already escaped hell once. So immediately, Hades feels played. He just got done killing that man's brother Poseidon, and this is the biggest one. Kratos killed Persephone, Hades' wife. And on top of that, when he gets to Hades' chamber, this man uses the casket with Persephone's dead body in it to break into Hades' throne room. Yeah, Kratos, put your dukes up, boy. You tweaking, cause he has every reason to want you dead. And on the first swing, Hades comes in there trying to rip that man's soul out of his body. But while I'm low-key on Hades' side for this fight, not even death is enough to stop this crash out, because what Kratos does to this man is diabolical. First chance he gets, he starts ripping that man's titty meat off, and honestly, I really think Hades brought the wrong weapon to this fight. He could have chose a scythe, a sword, a gun, but no, he wanted to use chain blades. And well, this is definitely not the best choice of weapon, because Kratos wraps his chain up with his, latches them up to the roof, and starts pounding that man's head in with the ceiling. Then after he drops Hades into the pit, he steals that man's blades and starts aura farming with them. Bruh, just dance on that man's grave at this point. So Hades pops out the pit pissed and tries to kill Kratos again, but I really wish he would have just stayed down, because Kratos takes that man's blades, jumps off his head, rips out his soul just to use it for himself. And with the death of Hades is also the release of all the dead souls into the world. Basically, zombie apocalypse. So before Kratos climbs out of hell, he runs into Hephaestus. And honestly, Hephaestus is the only god I rock with, because he's the first one that doesn't try to kill Kratos off the rip. Probably because Zeus took that man's daughter. But we'll get back to him in a bit, because as soon as Kratos climbs out of hell, he sees Helios flying through the sky and Gaia struggling to climb back up. The same Gaia that called that man a pawn and dropped him into hell is now begging Kratos for help. And you know what that means, right? He starts cutting into that broken arm that Zeus gave her and sends her plummeting back to the bottom of that cliff. Take your hand with you, Mother Nature. Now back to Helios, who I gotta go ahead and say is a punk. All Helios does is ride in that chariot and talk crap while the other monsters do the work for him. You think the god of the sun would, I don't know, try to throw it at him? Helios is definitely overconfident on that chariot and is so weak that he dang near gets killed by a titan, which is why he really should have just left this Crashout Kratos alone, because as soon as Kratos gets over there, he doesn't even need to pull out the blades for this man, because all Helios does is throw out a goddamn solar flare. Why not throw out the sun? So when Kratos finally gets to Mr. Spotlight, he starts stomping that man's lights out literally. Had that man begging for his life until Kratos grabs Helios by the head and rips that man's head off just to turn his head into a part of his inventory. Kratos didn't just turn that man's lights off though. He turned off the sun too. Now at this point, Kratos has wiped out half of the Pantheon and the world. But this next one is probably the fastest and honestly my favorite, because screw Hermes. Out of all the gods that actually have power, all this man can do is run his feet and that sassy mouth. At least Helios controlled the sun. Hermes did all that talking and is the messenger god. Boy, if you don't shut up and deliver my mail. So obviously, I don't have to tell you that when Kratos finally catches him, he's about to be fighting for his life, because Kratos grabs Hermes, slams him into a wall, and slashes off that first leg. And boy, the trumpets of heaven started to play when he started to beat down Hermes, because Hermes did all that yapping, and look at him crawling, begging for his life. So Kratos yanks that man up by his last leg, charges up the heat on the blade of Sparta, and proceeds to slash Hermes' other leg off. And what happens when Hermes dies? A goddamn cloud of Lokis. No tidal waves, no sun going bye-bye, no zombie apocalypse, just some bugs and your shoes snatched. Now at this point, the world is screwed. There's not really much more Kratos can break at this point except people's faces, which leads me into our next victim, Hercules. Now the only reason Hercules is even here is because he has daddy issues, and is so jealous of his brother that he teamed up with Hera, who hates both of them. Now I can't lie, if you told me my brother gets to go become a god while I clean some stables with horse poo, I'd be pretty upset too. So Hercules puts on lion-headed boxing gloves, you heard me right, and does what no one else in this entire universe ever thought to do: jump Kratos. But honestly, even that isn't enough, because Kratos picks that man up, bulldozes him into a wall, and kicks him in the face so hard that the force of that man kick breaks Hercules' helmet in half. But you know what pisses me off the most about this fight? Hercules probably could have won, because he stuns Kratos and has him shook. But instead of caving in his skull, this big lunk of uselessness decides to go flex to Hera and turn his back on Kratos the Crashout. And boy, you shouldn't have done that, because Kratos walks up on him and beats the boxing gloves off that man and just starts dog walking him with his own gloves. So in a last ditch effort, Hercules tries to lift the arena and drop Kratos, but Kratos punches the arena on top of Hercules. And remember how I said Kratos really doesn't have anything left to break except people's faces? Yeah, he proceeds to beat Hercules' face into the pavement until the floor breaks beneath him. We couldn't even recognize the man once Kratos got done with him. Now, before you think it can get worse, just know, yes it can, because after he beats Hercules' face in, Kratos runs into Aphrodite. Now, they don't fight, and honestly, I can't show this part because Kratos hits her with the googly googles, if you know what I mean. But right after he gets done with Aphrodite, he walks out of the portal and it leads back to Hephaestus, which, get this, is Aphrodite's husband.
Oh my God.
Now let me just say, if I'm Hephaestus, I'm getting ready to try to kill Kratos, but this one-eyed god was kind of smart about how he tried to kill Kratos, because he sends him to get a stone from Kronos to make a new weapon for him. So when Kratos goes to Kronos, guess what? This is just another angry giant that wants to kill him, and another angry giant that gets added to the body count. But when Kratos gets back to Hephaestus, he creates the weapon, but remember how I said Kratos screwed his wife and is trying to use his beloved daughter to kill Zeus? Yeah, Hephaestus finally tries to kill Kratos. And, well, at this point, it doesn't matter who you are. If you try to stand in front of Kratos, you're getting put on the chalkboard. So go ahead and chalk him up on the body count too. And don't forget Hera, because Kratos packed up this drunk auntie like right after that. Now, all that's left is Zeus. Now listen. Zeus is the reason Kratos is even crashing out to begin with. Let's not forget that none of this happens without Zeus. This man betrayed and killed him, hid that he was his father, and even sent the full brunt of Olympus down on Kratos. So it's partly Zeus's fault too that the world is ending, because he easily could have just said, I'll do it myself. So when Kratos finally gets to Pandora's box with Pandora, Zeus pulls up and throws Pandora like a rag doll. And that's all Kratos needs to start throwing hands. And I gotta say, Zeus might be a dick, but he's the only god that actually ran a fade with Kratos, even though Kratos was beating that man into a wall. So in the middle of their fight, Pandora tries to run into the flame of Olympus, but Kratos stops beating Zeus and tries to stop her. And this is where I gotta say, the gods need to know when to shut up, because Zeus told Kratos, don't fail her like he did his family. And Kratos forgets all about Pandora trying to sacrifice herself and starts beating Zeus up again as the box explodes. So when Kratos wakes up, he goes to open Pandora's box, the box that holds the power to kill a god. But the box is empty. And Zeus must really love pissing him off, because he just laughs and runs off like Kratos not about to come hunt you down. So when Kratos finds Zeus, the world is in ruins. And instead of mourning over it and his dead homies, Zeus and Kratos get right back to boxing. So as they fight on top of Olympus, Gaia, who is apparently an immortal titan, comes back and tries to kill Zeus and Kratos, but all she does is try to crush them, which I gotta say is kinda lazy. So they end up inside of Gaia. But even though they are inside of her, Zeus and Kratos still boxing like she didn't just eat them. And their fight gets so intense that Kratos stabs Zeus with the blade of Olympus into the heart of Gaia, adding her and them earthy titties to the chalkboard. So when Kratos wakes up, Zeus is laying there with the blade in his body. And while he thought he finally killed him, Zeus comes back from the afterlife and hits the armor and weapons out of Kratos, stripping him of everything he's gained and sending that man into darkness. And as he walks through the darkness, he walks through his past. Him killing his wife and child, Athena, all the people that he cared about. But in the darkness, Kratos found Pandora, and Kratos found hope. Hope in a world that was destroyed by his rage and his father's fear. That's what was left in Pandora's box. And with the hope he gained from the box, he comes back from the brink of death and puts the hopeful pause on Zeus, finally getting his revenge. Now, I guess the only question I have for y'all is, was this a justified crash out?